Welcome to the Office of Planning, Assessment, and Data's first Data Days at DMACC presentation. Today's topic is the Enrollment Cliff. The Enrollment Cliff is the projected drop in the number of traditional-age college students across the United States. This decline is projected to be felt most dramatically from 2026 onwards. The theory was first suggested in this book, Demographics and the Demand for Higher Education, by Nathan Graw. In his work, Graw forecasts the growth and decline of college students, with most of the decline felt in the Northeast, Midwest, and the southern states of Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee. So what is or are the causes of the enrollment cliff? Graw traces its roots back to the Great Recession of 2008. This major economic downturn is seen as the impetus for a decline in birth rates in the United States. You can see from this chart, along the blue line, that had birth rates continued to climb based on 2007 and prior rates, by 2013 the U.S. would have seen 4.5 million births annually. Instead, 2008 and every year afterwards saw a decline in birth rates. By 2013, there was close to 400,000 fewer births annually than there had been in 2007. Why should we care? The children born in 2008 will be heading to college as traditional-age college students in 2026. That's why 2026 is marked as the year of the cliff. And every year after that, there will be fewer and fewer potential college students coming out of high school. However, there's more to this story. On this slide, you can see that there was a decline in 2020, caused in part by COVID. Here you can see that across the U.S., two-year institutions were predicted to see up to a 7% decline in enrollment. While DMACC did not experience a decline that was this dramatic, the four-year institutions were not expected to see a steep drop in these years, but did, in fact, experience a larger than projected decline. In any case, as these declines begin to take their toll on higher education, DMACC may experience some residual effects. Four-year institutions may cut programs when their budgets decline. This could impact DMACC students by limiting transfer options. Some of Iowa's biggest four-year institutions traditionally recruit out-of-state students from one of the hardest hit states, Illinois. Illinois is predicted to see a decline of 25% in its college-age students by the end of the decade. Iowa State, Iowa, Drake, and others will work harder to attract potential students from in-state when their out-of-state pipeline dries up. Finally, this enrollment cliff for higher education will also be a workforce cliff for our businesses. The decline in birth rates will hit businesses seeking entry-level employees first, the same 18-year-olds higher education is trying to attract. We will all be competing in a smaller and smaller market. To make things even more difficult, prior to COVID, higher education enrollments across the U.S. had been declining since 2011. Some of this decline was caused by the declining public confidence in higher education. Looking at some local data, we can see here that Iowa State University saw its enrollment climb after the Great Recession, like most other institutions around the country. Then in the middle part of the last decade, the decline began. In the past few weeks, many institutions released their fall 2023 enrollment numbers, and many, including Iowa State and DMACC, saw an increase. Those of us in the Office of Planning, Assessment, and Data caution taking these higher enrollment numbers as a sign that the cliff is not coming. Remember, the cliff is not actually predicted to hit until 2026. The increases we are seeing now may be normal based on population numbers, or maybe COVID recovery, or a bit of both. Revisiting the declining confidence in higher education, most of the public's distrust is focused on the four-year institutions. With the exception of a few localized areas, community colleges have not felt the same decline in trust from the public. Indeed, our own research shows this to be the case. Each year, DMACC's marketing department partners with Marshall Marketing to conduct a survey of households in central Iowa. As you can see from this slide, DMACC's percent of households who would consider the college has remained steady over 5 years, Whereas Iowa State saw a 12-point decline, Iowa saw an 8.5-point decline, and Drake's decline was almost 5 points. In addition to avoiding much of the public's distrust, there's some other good news in all of this. Our numbers have stabilized and indeed have recently increased. This fall, both regular college student numbers and high school dual enrollment numbers increased. The Heartland Area Education Agency's enrollment has continued to climb as well. This AEA covers much the same district as DMACC. Yet still, taking our past enrollment alone, the Office of Planning, Assessment and Data predicts a gradual decline in enrollment for DMACC leading up to the cliff year of 2026. How should we address the future, knowing that the enrollment cliff is coming? There's more positive news and potential in our data. Iowa has potential students. Iowa is ranked in the bottom half of all states for residents who hold a bachelor's degree. This means there are plenty of potential students out there who may not have any higher education or who have some but have not yet completed a 4-year credential. Finding these pockets of young adults and possibly middle-aged and older adults will help insulate DMACC from some of the effects of the cliff. We can listen to the market. We know from surveys that many potential students are interested in condensed semesters, online course offerings, and evening coursework, among other things. Providing these opportunities for potential students should help increase the college's credit hour enrollment. Our final slide contains a list of additional ways DMACC can address the enrollment cliff that have come out of our discussions after this presentation was done in real time to several groups in late August and early September 2023. We can focus on high demand programs, demonstrate our value in our marketing materials, focus on retention and student success, redesign our course offerings in terms of modality, length of course, location, and offer evening and weekend options, make sure students have access to a student support system, re-enroll previous students who stopped out without completing a credential, address the multiple barriers that exist between high school graduation and college matriculation, address our summer melt, and address the transfer shock felt by some of our students when they transfer to one of the 4-year institutions. Thank you very much for listening. Data Days at DMACC is presented most months on the 3rd Thursday of the month in person on the Ankeny campus. If you are interested in attending one of the presentations, please contact anyone in OPAD or send an email to opad@dmac.edu for schedule and topics.